California real estate has always been synonymous with wealth, endless appreciation, and bulletproof investment returns. For decades, the mantra was simple: buy property in the Golden State, hold it, and watch your net worth multiply. But right now, beneath the palm trees and Instagram-filtered sunsets, a slow-burning fuse is racing toward detonation. Housing markets across California aren't just cooling, they're collapsing at velocities not seen since 2008. We're talking about double-digit price declines, record foreclosure filings surging 43% year-over-year in Q4 2025, and entire zip codes where sellers are slashing asking prices by $200,000 or more just to escape. The cracks that began as whispers in 2024, rising interest rates, mass exodus to cheaper states, insurance crises, and crumbling local budgets have widened into chasms that are now impossible to ignore. What once seemed like temporary market corrections have metastasized into full-blown crashes, leaving homeowners underwater, investors panicking, and entire municipalities staring into fiscal abysses. What follows are the 9 California cities most vulnerable to catastrophic home price collapse as the 2026 crash accelerates and intensifies. Number 9. Stockton. On the surface, Stockton marketed itself as the affordable Bay Area alternative, a place where middle-class families priced out of San Francisco and Oakland could finally own a home with a backyard. The city's median home price peaked at $485,000 in early 2025, and real estate agents pushed the narrative of commuter convenience and undiscovered value. In reality, Stockton is a powder keg of unsustainable speculation built on the shakiest of economic foundations. The city already declared bankruptcy once in 2012, and the structural problems that triggered that collapse never truly healed. They just got papered over with cheap credit and Bay Area spillover demand. Now, as remote work permanently reduces commuter flows and tech layoffs ripple through Northern California, Stockton's housing market is experiencing a sharp plunge. Median prices have dropped 18% since January 2025, with some neighborhoods seeing declines exceeding 25%. Foreclosure rates in San Joaquin County jumped 61% in 2025 alone, the highest in California. The city's crime rate remains among the worst in the nation, property taxes keep climbing to cover unfunded pension liabilities, and major employers like Amazon have scaled back warehouse operations. Homeowners who bought at peak are now trapped, unable to sell without taking massive losses, unable to refinance at today's 7.2% mortgage rates. Stockton's crash isn't an anomaly. It's a warning sign that cities built on nothing but proximity and hope will unravel quickly when the economic winds shift, leaving thousands of families holding the bag on homes worth far less than what they owe. Number 8. Bakersfield. Bakersfield positioned itself as the blue-collar heartland of California, affordable, unpretentious, and anchored by agriculture and oil production. Median home prices climbed to $398,000 in early 2025, a figure that seemed like a bargain compared to coastal cities, attracting first-time buyers and retirees seeking lower costs. Dig a little deeper and you'll find an economy in freefall and a housing market following close behind. Kern County's oil industry, which employs over 30,000 residents directly and supports tens of thousands more indirectly, has been decimated by California's aggressive decarbonization policies and collapsing global oil prices. Major producers, including Chevron and Aera Energy, have announced permanent cuts to operations, slashing production by 22% since 2024 and eliminating 4,700 jobs in the process. Agricultural employment, the region's other pillar, has contracted 11% as severe droughts and rising water costs make farming increasingly unviable. The economic carnage is now showing up in housing. Median home prices in Bakersfield have fallen 14% since their 2024 peak, with foreclosure filings up 48% and active listings ballooning by 73%. Entire subdivisions built during the mid-2020s boom now sit half-empty, with builders slashing prices by $60,000 or more just to move inventory. Air quality remains among the worst in the nation, and the city's poverty rate hovers near 21%, the highest of any metro area in California. Bakersfield's housing crash is a textbook case of what happens when a local economy built on dying industries collides with a statewide affordability crisis. Prices don't just stagnate, they collapse, leaving behind a landscape of abandoned dreams and underwater mortgages. Number 7. Lancaster and Palmdale. The Antelope Valley encompassing Lancaster and Palmdale was marketed as a final frontier of affordable home ownership in Los Angeles County, a high desert outpost where families could escape the Southland's chaos and own a slice of the California dream. Median home prices surged to $475,000 by late 2024, driven by desperate buyers and investors convinced that anywhere in LA County was a safe bet. In reality, the Antelope Valley is a brutal case study in geographic and economic isolation masquerading as opportunity. These cities are 60 to 90 minutes from meaningful job centers, even in light traffic, and as gas prices hover near $5.50 per gallon and remote work opportunities contract, the commute has become financially and physically unbearable. Major aerospace employers like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman have reduced their footprints, cutting over 3,200 positions since 2024. Local retail and service jobs pay poverty wages, with median household income barely cracking $62,000, far below what's needed to sustain mortgage payments at current rates. The housing crash here is ferocious. Prices have plummeted 19% since mid-2024. Foreclosures have jumped 67%, and the inventory of unsold homes has exploded to a 9-month supply. Violent crime rates remain among the highest in California. Schools are underfunded and overcrowded, and summer temperatures regularly exceed 105 degrees, driving up cooling costs and making homeowners insurance increasingly unaffordable. The Antelope Valley's housing market was always a speculative gamble built on the assumption that proximity to Los Angeles, no matter how distant or inconvenient, guaranteed value. That assumption is now being obliterated, leaving thousands of homeowners stranded in a high desert wasteland with properties worth far less than they paid, and no buyers willing to take them off their hands. Number 6. Vallejo. Vallejo once carried the aura of Bay Area adjacency without Bay Area prices, a Solano County city where working-class families and public sector employees could afford homes while still claiming proximity to San Francisco's economic engine. Median home prices peaked at $612,000 in early 2025, propped up by spillover demand from the exorbitantly priced core counties. Beneath the surface, Vallejo is a city in perpetual crisis, and its housing market is finally reflecting that reality. The city declared bankruptcy in 2008 and has never truly recovered. Its credit rating remains junk status, essential services are chronically underfunded, and violent crime rates are nearly triple the state average. The promised Bay Area connectivity has proven illusionary. Commutes to San Francisco or Oakland are punishing 90-minute logs, and as remote work declines and tech companies downsize, over 47,000 layoffs across the Bay in 2025 alone, the demand that once propped up Vallejo has evaporated. Home prices have crashed 17% since their peak, with foreclosures spiking 58% and median days on market stretching to 94, nearly triple pre-pandemic levels. The city's schools rank among the worst in California. Its downtown remains largely blighted despite years of revitalization promises, and homeowner insurance premiums have surged 42% due to wildfire risk and elevated crime. Perhaps most damning, over 23% of Vallejo's homes are now worth less than their outstanding mortgage balances, trapping owners in a vicious cycle of negative equity. Vallejo's housing crash is a stark reminder that proximity to wealth doesn't create wealth, and when a city's fundamentals are rotten, high crime, poor services, and crumbling infrastructure, no amount of Bay Area spillover can prevent the inevitable collapse. Number 5. Modesto.
Modesto marketed itself as the Central Valley success story, a mid-sized city with agricultural roots, reasonable home prices, and a quality of life that supposedly rivaled more expensive regions. Median home prices reached $468,000 in mid-2024, attracting Bay Area refugees and investors convinced they were getting in on the ground floor of the next growth market. In reality, Modesto's economy is contracting, its social fabric is fraying, and its housing market is in freefall. The region's agricultural base has been hammered by consecutive drought years, with farm income down 27% since 2023 and over 5,400 agricultural jobs eliminated. Meanwhile, the promised diversification into logistics and manufacturing has failed to materialize. Major employers have either downsized or relocated entirely, leaving unemployment hovering at 8.3%, one of the highest rates in California. The housing crash has been swift and merciless. Median prices have dropped 21% from their peak, the steepest decline outside the coastal markets. Foreclosure filings have exploded by 71%, and nearly 1 in 5 homes on the market has undergone at least one price reduction. Crime remains a persistent crisis, with property crime rates 68% above the national average and violent crime climbing steadily. The city's tax base is eroding as businesses close and residents flee. Net outmigration from Stanislaus County hit 4,200 people in 2025, the highest on record. Schools are underfunded, infrastructure is aging rapidly, and the cost of homeowners insurance has increased 51% in 2 years due to wildfire proximity and elevated risk profiles. Modesto's crash is emblematic of a broader Central Valley collapse. Cities that bet everything on cheap land and agricultural tradition are discovering that neither can sustain a modern housing market. And when the economy turns, there's no safety net to catch the fall.
Number 4. Fresno. Fresno has long claimed the title of Central California's capital, a city of 500,000 with a diversified economy, major universities, and home prices that seemed refreshingly affordable compared to coastal markets. Median prices climbed to $421,000 by late 2024, attracting out-of-state investors and families seeking lower costs of living. Dig a little deeper and the narrative falls apart. Fresno is experiencing one of the most severe housing crashes in the state, driven by an economy in structural decline and social problems that have spiraled out of control. Agriculture, the region's traditional anchor, is collapsing under the weight of water scarcity. Fresno County's farm output has contracted by 18% since 2023, and over 8,900 agricultural jobs have been eliminated. The promised economic diversification has failed. Major employers, including AT&T and several healthcare systems, have announced layoffs totaling over 3,400 positions in 2025 alone. Unemployment has spiked to 9.1%, the second highest among California's major metros. The housing market is imploding. Median prices have plummeted 23% from their peak. Foreclosures are of 76%, and nearly 30% of homes are now selling for less than their purchase price. Fresno also suffers from California's worst air quality, with over 140 days per year exceeding federal pollution standards, driving up respiratory illness rates and depressing property values. Crime is rampant. Violent crime rates are 52% above the state average, and the city's schools rank in the bottom quartile statewide. Perhaps most troubling, Fresno's poverty rate sits at 24.3%, the highest of any major California city, creating a vicious cycle where declining incomes and property values feed off each other. Fresno's crash is a brutal reminder that affordability without economic opportunity is a trap, not a benefit. And when the foundation crumbles, so does everything built on top of it. Number 3. Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz carries the image of coastal paradise, a picturesque beach town nestled between Monterey Bay and towering redwoods, home to a prestigious UC campus and a laid-back, progressive vibe.
Median home prices soared to $1.14 million by early 2025, sustained by tech wealth spillover from Silicon Valley and the illusion of endless desirability. In reality, Santa Cruz is a pressure cooker of unsustainable costs, environmental vulnerability, and economic fragility that's now erupting. The city's economy is perilously narrow. Tourism, education, and a small cluster of tech workers who can't afford Palo Alto. Tourism has contracted 19% since 2024 as California travel declines and businesses along the beach permanently close. The UC Santa Cruz campus, a major employer, has frozen hiring and cut budgets by 12% amid statewide university system deficits. Meanwhile, Santa Cruz faces existential environmental threats. Sea level rise is accelerating, with projections showing 40% of coastal infrastructure at risk by 2040, and wildfire danger in the surrounding hills has driven homeowners' insurance premiums up a staggering 73% in 2 years. Many homes are now uninsurable at any price. The housing crash has arrived with a vengeance. Median prices have fallen 26% from their peak, the sharpest decline of any coastal California city, and luxury listings are sitting unsold for 120-plus days, with serial price cuts exceeding $300,000. Foreclosures have surged 52%, and wealthy buyers from Silicon Valley, the market's traditional safety net, are staying away, either because they're facing their own financial stress from tech layoffs or because the insurance and climate risks are too severe to ignore. Santa Cruz's crash exposes the lie at the heart of coastal California real estate, that beauty and location alone can sustain value. When insurance becomes unaffordable, when jobs disappear, and when nature itself turns hostile, even paradise becomes a trap. Number 2. Oakland. Oakland spent the 2010s and early 2020s riding the wave of Bay Area spillover, positioning itself as San Francisco's grittier, more affordable sibling, a place where artists, young professionals, and families priced out of the city could still access the region's economic opportunities. Median home prices peaked at $887,000 in mid-2024, fueled by relentless demand and the promise of continued appreciation. Beneath the surface, Oakland is unraveling at a pace that should terrify anyone holding property there. The city's problems are systemic and multiplying. Violent crime has exploded, with homicides up 21% in 2025 and armed robberies increasing 34%, driving a mass exodus of residents and businesses. Over 120 businesses, including major retailers, restaurants, and the last downtown movie theater, have permanently closed or relocated, citing crime and deteriorating conditions. The city's budget is in crisis, with a $360 million deficit forcing brutal cuts to police, fire, and public works, which only accelerates the decline. Meanwhile, Oakland has lost over 18,000 residents since 2023, a devastating net outmigration that's collapsing tax revenues and housing demand simultaneously. The housing crash is brutal and accelerating. Median prices have plummeted 28% from their peak, foreclosures are up 63%, and luxury condos that sold for $1.2 million in 2023 are now listed at $780,000 with no buyers. The office vacancy rate downtown has hit 32%, and tech companies that once anchored Oakland's growth, including Pandora and Square, have shuttered offices or moved employees to other cities. Home insurance costs have surged 67% due to property crime, and entire neighborhoods are seeing double-digit annual premium increases. Oakland's crash isn't a market correction. It's a full-scale urban collapse, a city imploding under the weight of crime, fiscal mismanagement, and an economic exodus that shows no signs of slowing, leaving homeowners holding assets that are depreciating faster than almost anywhere else in America. Number 1. San Francisco. San Francisco was supposed to be bulletproof, the crown jewel of California real estate, a city where global capital, tech wealth, and limited supply guaranteed perpetual appreciation.
Median home prices peaked at an eye-watering $1.47 million in mid-2022 and remained stubbornly elevated through 2024, sustained by the mythology of San Francisco exceptionalism and the belief that tech would always bounce back. In reality, San Francisco is experiencing the most devastating housing crash of any major American city, a collapse so severe it's rewriting everything we thought we knew about urban real estate. The city has lost over 65,000 residents since 2020, a population hemorrhage driven by remote work, sky-high costs, rampant crime, and open-air drug crisis that has turned entire neighborhoods into uninhabitable dystopias. Downtown office vacancy rates have hit a catastrophic 37.4%, the highest in the nation, with trophy buildings selling for 60–70% discounts, and major employers including Salesforce, Meta, and Google slashing their footprints. The commercial real estate collapse is metastasizing into residential. Median home prices have crashed 31% from their peak. Condo prices are down 38%, and luxury properties that fetched $4 million in 2022 are now struggling to find buyers at $2.3 million. Foreclosures and distressed sales have surged 89%, and nearly $12 billion in residential real estate value has been wiped out in just 18 months. The city's budget is imploding. A projected $1.1 billion deficit over 2 years is forcing mass layoffs and service cuts, while a crumbling tax base means fewer police, dirtier streets, and accelerating urban decay. Homeowners insurance has become prohibitively expensive or entirely unavailable due to earthquake risk, with premiums spiking 81% for those who can still get coverage. Perhaps most damning, San Francisco now has the highest concentration of homes worth less than their mortgage balance of any major U.S. city. Over 22,000 properties, representing $31 billion in negative equity, trapping owners who can't sell and can't afford to stay. The collapse of San Francisco isn't just a housing crash, it's the implosion of an entire mythology, the final proof that no city is too important, too wealthy, or too desirable to fail when the fundamentals rot from within. And when the fall comes, even the golden city by the bay turns to dust.